You know that feeling when you look at a sentence and it just seems like a random string of words? Well, today we're going to pull back the curtain and show you the hidden machinery that makes it all work. Let's go backstage.
It really all boils down to this one simple question. Because the meaning isn't just in the words themselves. It's about the specific job, the function each one has. And once you see those jobs in action, honestly, everything just clicks.
So here's the best way to get a handle on this. I want you to imagine every single sentence as a little stage play. And every word, well, that's an actor. And each one has a very specific part to play to make the scene come to life. Here's our program for today. We're going to start with our stage play idea. Then we'll meet the absolute star of the show, the subject. After that, we'll check out who's on the receiving end of the action, the objects. We'll meet their whole crew, and then finally, we'll talk about how you can become the director.
Okay, so this whole stage play thing, it isn't just a fun little metaphor. It's actually a real concept. The fancy term for these roles is functional classes, which is, just the official way of saying the part each word gets to play in the sentence.
Every good play needs a star, right? The main character, the one who drives all the action forward. Well, in the grammar universe, that leading role belongs to the subject.
The subject is basically who or what the entire sentence is about. It's the one doing the stuff. Or sometimes it's just the one standing in the spotlight. It's the absolute heart of the whole operation.
So, how do you spot the star of the show? It's actually really easy. There's a simple two-step trick. First, you find the verb, the action word, and you ask who or what right before it. Then, just to be sure, you double-check that the verb actually matches up with your answer.
All right, let's put it to the test with this sentence. The action here is our playing. So we can go ahead and use our first step. Who are playing cards? Well, that's easy. It's two boys. Okay, now for step 2. Does the verb are agree with two boys? You bet. Boys is plural and so is are. It's a perfect match. That confirms it. Two boys is our subject. But you gotta watch out because language can be a little tricky. You'll often see a word like there at the start of a sentence. It looks like the star, but it's a total fake-out. It's just a placeholder, kind of like an understudy. The verb is doesn't agree with there. It agrees with the real subject, a book, which pops up later in the sentence. Sneaky, right?
Okay, so we found our star performer, the subject, but an actor can't just perform in a vacuum. Who is the subject acting on? Who's on the receiving end of all this action? Well, that brings us to our next key character, the object.
The most straightforward supporting character is the direct object. This is the person or thing that catches the action, like head-on. It's the immediate target of whatever the subject is doing.
Take a look at this one. Our subject, Sarah, is doing the action she bought. But that action of buying has to land somewhere, right? In this case, it lands directly on some flowers. Let me show you how we can prove it.
And hey, just like for subjects, there's a secret question to find the direct object. All you do is take the subject, add the verb, and then ask what or whom. So for that last sentence, Sarah bought what? The answer is some flowers. Boom! That's your direct object. Simple as that.
But, the direct object rarely travels alone. Sometimes it has a whole entourage, other kinds of objects that play really important supporting roles. Let's meet the crew.
First up in the entourage is the indirect object. Now, this character doesn't get the action directly. Instead, they're the beneficiary of it all. They're the one who gets the direct object in the end. The key questions to find them are, to whom or for whom was the action done? Okay, let's bring Sarah back to the stage. This time, Sarah bought her mother a dress. See, the scene is getting a little more complex now, with more characters involved. And this breaks it down perfectly. The subject is Sarah, the verb is bought. Now let's use our secret question. Sarah bought what? A dress. That's our direct object. But now for the supporting role. For whom did she buy the dress? For her mother. And there it is. That's our indirect object.
Now here's a crucial director's note. Not all verbs treat their indirect objects the same way. What I call give-type verbs, like buy, send, or tell, they only need a little word like for or to if the indirect object comes after the direct object. But then you've got explain-type verbs, like explain or describe. These guys always need that little preposition, no matter where the indirect object is placed.
And one last member of the entourage, the prepositional object. Some verbs are just a bit needy. They can't connect to their object all by themselves.
they need a little helper word, a preposition, to build a bridge. So in Max glanced at the girl is the object of that helper word, at.
So we've met the whole cast, we understand their jobs, we see how they all interact, so now it's time to shift from being in the audience to taking the director's chair.
Here's a super quick recap of your main players. The subject is the star. Find them with who or what. The direct object gets the action. Find them with what or whom. And the indirect object is the beneficiary. Find them with to whom or for whom.
And why does any of this matter? Well, because knowing these roles is so much more than a grammar exercise. It's the key to taking control. It gives you the power to move all the pieces around, to create emphasis, and to build sentences that are clear, strong, and say exactly what you mean. You're no longer just reading words, you're seeing the machinery humming away behind them. You basically got the director's playbook now. So the only question is, now that you know the entire cast, what story are you going to direct?